Hello again, BookTube. Books with Banks back again with another video. In my first Malazan Stephen Erikson novel specific ranking video, I had mentioned there was one sub-series that I really wanted to spend a ton of time, or I wanted to use a lot of my time here on this platform, kind of talking about and analyzing. And as you can see, I have both of the first two books that are out in this trilogy in front of me right here, and that's Forge of Darkness and Fall of Light, book 1 and 2 of Stephen Erikson's prequel trilogy, the Kharkanas trilogy. Now, in the next few weeks or so, I plan on releasing, including this one, a total of 5 specific videos dedicated to specifically this sub-series. So I, unfortunately, if you're not as familiar with Malazan Book of the Fallen, or if you're not super interested in reading this series, of course, I think it would be great if you do want to watch the video to see if you might be interested in either the main series or this prequel series, but if not, or if you've given these books a try and kind of bounced off, unfortunately most of these videos are going to go down an analytical path that might not exactly be for you. So my expected audience here is really mostly people who are either looking to get into just start off with Malazan Book of the Fallen, or maybe they've read that or have started reading that and now they're thinking, okay, I like the main series, where else should I go in this world? What other series should I focus on? So yeah, I'm really hoping that these 5 videos are of help to anyone interested in maybe moving forward with this series or other series in the larger shared Malazan world. And this first video, the only sole purpose of this, as you can see from the title, is just to provide a breakdown of where I'm going to take this my Kharkanas analytical kind of series of YouTube videos here. So this first one, just a breakdown. The second video, I'm going to do a more general why you should read Stephen Erikson's Kharkanas trilogy, or at least the first 2 books that are out in the series so far. That's going to be entirely spoiler-free for all things Malazan. I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to be very, very vague. I'm going to make sure not to spoil anything, including things like at which point, or if a certain character is alive at a certain point in a book, because, I don't want to defeat the dramatic tension of earlier moments where you might be thinking, oh, is this person going to live or die? And then remember, oh, well, Alex ruined that because he said the favorite book with that character is 2 or 3 books from now. So yeah, don't worry about anything like that. I'm going to try to be very, very careful and cautious to avoid spoilers in that second video, that why you should read. I'm going to introduce the series vaguely, broadly, talk about the setting, the tone, the framing of it, the themes, characters like Erikson, Draconis, Mother Dark, Father Urisander, Hunral, and I'm also going to use that video to dispel this kind of common misconception that people might have going into this series, where they think it's going to specifically serve as a sort of backstory for the character of Anamander Rake, who's a lot of people's favorite character from Malazan Book of the Fallen. While that character is in these books, I would say they're definitely not so much his story. He's not the most important presence in either of these first 2 entries so far. I was fine with that, but I do think specifically with this prequel trilogy, sometimes people thought of it when this was coming out, the first one, and then when this came out, people thought, oh, sure, the Anamander Rake prequel trilogy, similar to how they're now talking about the Karsa Orlong trilogy, where, sure, while those characters are important to events at those times, they're not necessarily the thrust of, or they're not at the heart. They're not the main characters that you're going to spend the most time with, or really grow to love or fall in love with over the course of this series. So Yeah, so the second video, I'm gonna go through these characters. I'm also gonna go over prerequisites, at what point in time I might recommend someone read this prequel series. If you're trying to read the whole thing, if maybe you're just trying to stick with the Steven Erikson written stuff, what difficulties there might be, or whether or not it's okay if someone were to choose to read these two books before Erikson's main 10, Book of the Fallen. I'll go over all of that in my next video. And then, last but not least, I'll also talk about everything that I personally got out of these books, just on an emotional kind of human reaction level, and I'll also talk about what I'm really excited for, why I'm so excited going into the third book, as yet to be released. But from what I understand, Mr. Erikson is in the process of writing it right now, although he's also in the process of writing the next novels in the Witness trilogy. So if he's splitting his time there, it might still take a few years for book 3 of the series to come out, but I am very hopeful, and I totally expect it to come out in the next 3 or 4 years, somewhere in there. Then, after that second video, so you see the first video is kind of me talking about my plan, second video is me talking about the series. The next 3 videos in this series of 5, it's sort of going to be my trilogy of analysis video essays. So the first video essay, I'm going to focus on the theme of justice, and who is just and who is just self-righteous. That's sort of the working title of that first video, just to get a little bit of wordplay in there. And yeah, some of the big questions I'll be asking in that video are things like, what does fighting for justice even mean? And then I'll be talking about the frightening consequences of applying moral labels to various political and warring factions in any society. These are issues that Mr. Erikson brings up in these 2 books, or I should say his characters bring up in both of these books so far. So over the next few days, I'll be doing some research, going back through, looking at certain characters that I think really represent this theme of justice and injustice and self-righteousness, this kind of conflict. And I'll be looking for quotes, and I'll try in that first video to pick apart where certain characters stand, where perhaps even the character within the story who's telling us the story, where he might stand on all of this. Yeah, so that'll be the first analysis video. The second analysis video is going to be the early title right now I have is called, it's kind of sounds more like an boring academic paper title, but it's parental responsibility and the lessons we pass on. So this one is going to be all about the issue covered in these books, about what values parents willingly or unwillingly imbue in their children, what lessons they pass on, how children are raised, specifically in this society, what it's like for children to be raised at the time, or a time that's kind of on the brink of civil war. Yeah, so that'll be the second video there. Similar to the first analysis video about justice, this one about parenting, I'm going to go through, look for specific characters that really kind of push this idea, or these ideas, this theme, to the forefront. And then finally, I'm going to wrap up this kind of series. Really the point of this whole series is to try and build excitement and momentum, maybe try and get a few more people, at least online, talking about this amazing series. But I'll probably make videos in the future but about the series, especially when Walk in Shadow comes out, or when we're kind of ramping up to its release date. But for now, for this initial series of 5 videos, the third analysis video, this one is going to be, my working title is the role of an Eriksonian historian in society. So in this one, I'm going to be looking at how Erikson writes the historian characters and a lot of the academics sort of characters in Kharkanas, but also those in Malazan Book of the Fallen. I'm going to sort of do a historiographic analysis trying to fit Erikson's scholars into our own world's schools of thought in history theory, and I'll also be bringing in some other history theory texts to kind of help explain what those different schools of thought are, explain, or and maybe guess at, and try and analyze the point, the purpose that these characters serve, how they help the societies or hurt the societies that they live in, but also beyond that, how they help and kind of support the narrative, how having these characters in there, why Erikson has chosen to include these characters. And of course, for those of you familiar with the series, when I talk about these academic characters, I'm talking about specifically for these two characters like Rise Heret and Sigander. But then with Book of the Fallen, I'm talking about characters like Dwicker and Hiborik. So I really look forward to getting a little more into my research, picking out quotes, really looking a little more deeply at these. And please stay tuned for my second video in this 5-video series. And that'll be coming out in a few days, and that'll be called, that'll be why you should read Steven Erikson's Kharkanas trilogy. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Thanks.